After sudden death from overwork, I was reborn. As soon as I opened my eyes, I met a pair of pitiful eyes. My cousin Su-ro was wearing a plain white dress and carrying a large suitcase. Standing at the door of my house, this was a month before the college entrance examination, my cousin Su-ro, a junior in college, came to my house on the pretext that my house was close to her school. Ro, why didn't you tell your uncle in advance that you were coming? Uncle will pick you up. My dad pushed me aside, pulled Su-ro into the house, and then moved into my room, rubbing my arm that was hurt by my dad. I squinted. What did I do in my previous life? The unforgettable memory came to mind easily. I was arrogant and didn't want to give up the room. I had a big fight with my dad and was slapped by my dad. For this reason, my mom and my dad had a big fight, and their already problematic relationship was on thin ice. Not only that, then Su-ro had all kinds of ambiguous relationships with my boyfriend Zhang Chuyang. I was unwilling to let Su-ro take everything away from me, so I had no interest in studying. I was thinking about how to make Su-ro leave my home and my boyfriend. Therefore, I, who had excellent grades since childhood, performed poorly, and my college entrance examination score could only get me into a junior college. Then, my parents divorced, and I followed my father. Su-ro framed me and pushed her down the stairs, and my father kicked me out of the house. Su-ro took the millions of dowry my father gave her and married Zhang Chuyang, who also came from a wealthy family. After graduating from college, I couldn't find a suitable job, entered the factory assembly line, and died suddenly from overwork. After rebirth, I took the initiative to give up my bedroom and moved into the attic on the 3rd floor, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to seize the opportunity of the college entrance examination. My experience in the previous life made me understand that only being strong is the most important. I lived alone on the 3rd floor, which was very quiet. I studied until late at night every day. I pretended not to know about the various little actions of Su-ro and Zhang Chuyang. Finally, the college entrance examination was over, and I was snatched by Tsinghua University and Peking University with high scores. Finally, I chose Tsinghua. My heart was hanging until I got the admission letter from Tsinghua. I pushed open the attic window and exhaled a breath of foul air. Now, it's time to settle the grudges between me, Su-ro, Zhang Chuyang and my father. When I went downstairs, I saw Su-ro leaning in Zhang Chuyang's arms, smiling shyly. Seeing me, Zhang Chuyang pushed Su-ro away and walked towards me. Han-in, you finally came down. You were busy studying some time ago and didn't care about me. You have to accompany me well from now on. As he said, Zhang Chuyang was about to reach out and pull me. I took a step back and distanced myself from him. But I see that there seems to be someone with you. I looked at Su-ro meaningfully. After a moment of embarrassment, Zhang Chuyang pretended to be carefree and said, Han-in, what are you thinking about? I am close to Su-ro only because she is your cousin. The ruthless words made Su-ro pale, but I curled my lips in pleasure. Zhang Chuyang and I are a marriage between rich families, and we were engaged since childhood, so in my previous life, I always treated Zhang Chuyang as my future husband, and I couldn't accept it when Su-ro took Zhang Chuyang away. At this time in the previous life, Zhang Chuyang and Su-ro were already deeply in love with each other despite my strong resistance, and now, perhaps because of the absence of me as a catalyst, Zhang Chuyang is still secretly dating Su-ro behind my back. My cooperation with Zhang Chuyang in the performance can certainly make Su-ro uncomfortable, but it makes me even more disgusted. How can I cancel my engagement with Zhang Chuyang as soon as possible? While thinking, I quickly came up with an idea. I looked at Zhang Chuyang with affection. Anyway, I will marry you sooner or later. Why don't we get married? Marry. Su-ro was the first to exclaim. Why? Cousin doesn't want to? Or does cousin want to replace me and marry Chuyang? The words that hit her heart made Su-ro tremble. Not knowing what to say, Zhang Chuyang's expression was also a little embarrassed. Obviously, he hadn't enjoyed the happiness of having two boats at the same time, so I added fuel to the fire. Chuyang, I was admitted to Tsinghua University. If Auntie knew, she would definitely be very happy. Did you really get admitted to Tsinghua University? Zhang Chuyang's eyes lit up. After seeing me nod, his face was filled with ecstasy. Wait. I'll go back and tell my mother. The Zhang family made their fortune in the coal mining business a few years ago. Although the coal mining business did not work later, the family had a strong financial foundation and invested in some other businesses. Although their family was rich, no one was a good student. The one with the highest education in their family was Zhang Chuyang. He, who is 3 years older than me, did not go to college after graduating from high school and entered the society. Therefore, the Zhang family is often criticized in private, saying that they are a family of nouveau riche and cannot be put on the stage. The less they have, the more they like to show off. Wherever Zhang's mother goes, she will show off my good grades. Now that I am admitted to Tsinghua University, she must hope that I can marry into the Zhang family as soon as possible. As soon as Zhang Chuyang left my house, Su-ro couldn't help but kneel in front of me with her belly covered. Han-in, I'm sorry for you. I am pregnant with Zhang Chuyang's child. I know, after all, the helmets that Zhang Chuyang and Su Ro used were pierced by me with a needle in advance. My resounding words stopped Su Ro from crying. How did you know? I hooked my lips, said nothing, and went upstairs. It seems that there will be a tough battle in the afternoon. I need to rest for a while and recharge my energy. Bang bang bang. I was awakened by the violent knocking on the door, then my father's irritable voice rang out from outside the door. You locked the door at home, and you only study and sleep all day long? I'm afraid I've raised a pig. Why don't you learn from your cousin? She gets up early every day to cook. And, frowning, I walked straight to the door and opened it. Seeing my expressionless face, my father's chattering stopped. Instead, his face was filled with anger. You damn girl, you dare to look at me with such eyes. As he said that, he was about to slap me. I hurried downstairs, so that he missed. Downstairs, Zhang's father, Zhang's mother and Zhang Chuyang were laughing happily. This smile was magnified several times when he saw me. Su Ro, who was serving tea and water, had tears in her eyes. It seems that Zhang Chuyang's family doesn't know about Su Ro's pregnancy yet. TSK, I thought Su Ro was so capable. I didn't expect that I would have to expose this matter myself, uncle, aunt. I walked to Zhang's mother. Zhang's mother saw the Tsinghua admission letter in my hand at a glance, took it and read it again and again. Then she handed the admission letter to Zhang's father, and took my hand. Our Henin is excellent. Aunt loves you so much. When my father came down, she couldn't wait to say to my father, in-laws, Chuyang is already in his 20s. And Henin is also an adult. How about holding the wedding first and getting the certificate later? Zhang's family is more powerful than my family. After hearing what Zhang's mother said, my father temporarily put away his dissatisfaction with me and squeezed out a smile. Of course, then you see. When should we set the date? I just thought it was ridiculous to see that Zhang's father, Zhang's mother and my father had already started discussing the date of my marriage with Zhang Chuyang. My mother was still in the company and hadn't come back yet. They were blatantly ignoring my mother, looking at Su Ro on the side. Her eyes were fixed on Zhang Chuyang, who usually melted at Su Ro's smile, sat upright at this time, ignoring Su Ro's hint. TSK. In the face of interests, their love seemed to be nothing. Otherwise, let's set it for next month, and hold the wedding before Henin starts school. I think it's okay. Zhang's father and mother and my father hit it off. And I spoke at this time, uncle, and I also want to marry Chuyang, but, as I said, I looked at Su Ro with an accusing look, and said aggrievedly, but she actually seduced Chuyang behind my back and got pregnant with Chuyang's child. My words shocked everyone present. Henin, are you mistaken? She is your cousin. I also think I am mistaken, but she told me this not long ago. At this time, the eye drops I put in advance can finally be released. Tears fell. I lowered my head and pretended to cry, but I looked at Su Ro out of the corner of my eye. Of the 3 brothers in the Su family, only my dad was admitted to university and married my mom. He used the power of my mom's family to establish the Su group. But my mom was the main person in charge of the group, and my dad was just a nominal president. Although my dad's brothers and sisters had a much better life with my dad's secret help, they were not comparable to my family. Su Ro has envied me since she was a child. I have said so much. If Su Ro does not seize this opportunity to marry into a wealthy family, I will look down on her. Fortunately, this time, she did not let me down. Su Ro, stared at by everyone, knelt in front of Zhang's father and mother. Uncle and aunt, Chuyang and I are really in love. Before Zhang's father and mother could react, Zhang Chuyang could not wait to stand up. I obviously took safety measures. How could you be pregnant? In one sentence, this matter was confirmed. Chuyang, I don't know why this happened. Didn't you say you didn't like Suihan at all? That she was dull and wooden, and that you would end your engagement with her and be with me sooner or later? And you said, shut up. An anxious Zhang Chuyang slapped Su Ro in the face. The next second, Zhang's father kicked Zhang Chuyang in the stomach. You bastard. You have ruined the face of our Zhang family. Why did you hit your son? Zhang's mother refused. I think it was Su Ro, the bitch, who seduced my son. If you want to hit her, hit her. Zhang's mother grabbed Su Ro's hair. My father hurried to stop her. Zhang's mother was so angry that she even scratched my father, fearing that his face would be scratched. My father took a step back. And then Su Ro was pressed to the ground and beaten by Zhang's mother, unable to escape. Su Ro suddenly covered her stomach. Child, my child. A touch of red flowed from Su Ro's legs to the floor. Fearing that she would be involved in a murder lawsuit, Zhang's mother immediately stopped and called 120. Half an hour later, Su Ro was carried to the ambulance. Zhang's father, mother, Zhang Chuyang and my father followed in a panic. I sat on the sofa in the living room, watching the figures walking out the door, with a sneer on the corner of my mouth. Just at this moment, a gloomy gaze swept over. It was my father. He turned his head suddenly and caught the smile on my face. I subconsciously restrained my smile, and soon realized that I was no longer the cowardly and incompetent self who was suppressed by him in my previous life. I raised my head and smiled at my father, the first time he saw my provocative eyes. My father was furious, as if he was going to come back to settle accounts with me, but the ambulance outside couldn't wait, so he could only get on the ambulance and leave. Not long after the ambulance left, my mother came back. She was wearing a slim-fitting business suit and had her hair tied up. Although she was already in her 40s and had fine lines around her eyes, she still had a charming demeanor. Her hair was only slightly messy, and it was obvious that she had rushed back in a hurry. "Han-in, Auntie told me something happened." "What happened?" She was busy with her career and her tone was a little cold, but her eyes were full of concern, unfortunately. I didn't see this concern in my previous life. At that time, I never thought about whether my mother worked so hard for me. I just thought that my mother was only concerned about working and making money and didn't love me at all. I have been rebellious since I was a child and loved to go against my mother. Even when my mother gave up the Su group and divorced my father, and the only condition was to take me away, I was unwilling to lose to Su-ro, so I resolutely chose to follow my father. In the end, my disappointed mother didn't want anything, left the house and went abroad. Thinking about it, my nose couldn't help but feel sour. "Mom." I threw myself into her arms and hugged her tightly. "Mom, you are finally back." In my previous life, I was rarely close to my mother. Since my rebirth, we have become much closer, but compared with ordinary mothers and daughters, there is still some distance. My mother's body was stiff at first, and then she relaxed and patted my back unskillfully. "Han-in, are you wronged?"
Yeah.
I nodded and told her what happened today. Zhang Chuyang and Su-ro are secretly together, and they have a child. Too much? My mother was furious. I will go to settle accounts with them now. Today, the Zhang family and the eldest brother's family must give me an explanation, as she said. My mother took me out, driving me to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, Su-ro was lying on the bed dying, Zhang's father and mother. Zhang Chuyang and my father were all in the ward. The other 3 people looked unhappy. Only my father was concerned about Su-ro. "Ro-ro, does it hurt? Are you hungry? If you feel uncomfortable, tell your uncle." "My child." Su-ro touched her belly and cried. My father's tone became gentler. "The child is fine. You just need to take care of your body now. Don't worry about anything else." "Thank you, uncle." My mother, who couldn't stand it anymore, pushed open the door of the ward and said sarcastically, "You were not so considerate when you treated Han-Han. People who didn't know would think that Su-ro was not your niece, but your illegitimate daughter." My mother was my mouthpiece and said everything I wanted to say, as expected. My father was also angry. He has no ability in his career, but he loves to be more irritable than my mother. "Sheng Yunru, what are you talking about?" I have seen my father like this many times, but this time, I caught a trace of guilt on my father's face that I had never noticed before. I looked at my dad, and then at Su-ro on the bed. A bold idea came to my mind. Am I talking nonsense? Su-ro even dared to snatch Han-Han's fiancé? She is so shameless, and you still protect her. Do you take us mother and daughter seriously? Su-ro is just young and ignorant, and she is not someone else. She is my niece. Seeing that the two were about to have a big fight, I hurriedly grabbed my mother's hand. "Mom." My mother came back to her senses and took a deep breath, temporarily suppressed her anger towards my dad, and turned to look at Zhang's father and mother. Zhang's father and mother, who were originally watching the show, suddenly became tense. "In-laws, that. Don't call me in-laws, since your son is not self-disciplined. Forget about this marriage." Before Zhang's father and mother had time to express their opinions, my father rushed out. "It's a pity to forget it. Why not let Ruru marry Chuyang instead of Ihan? That won't work." Zhang's mother's eyes widened immediately. Han-in was admitted to Tsinghua University. And what about Suru? I don't know what kind of fake university she went to, and she came from the countryside. Our Zhang family doesn't like such a daughter-in-law. In my opinion, let Suru abort the baby in her belly and go back to the countryside, and pretend that this matter never happened. You can't affect the harmony between our two families for a bitch, right, in-laws? Zhang's mother looked at my mother. My mother glanced at my father's livid face. She patted my hand soothingly, and then said slowly, "It's not impossible." Seeing my mother give in, Zhang's mother breathed a sigh of relief. "In this case, I'll ask the doctor to prepare for the abortion." As she said that, Zhang's mother planned to arrange it. Su-ro, who was originally lying on the bed and had difficulty speaking, suddenly ran down the bed and hugged Zhang Qiang's legs. "Qiang, can you bear to do this to me? Woo woo woo." She cried like a pear blossom in the rain. Zhang Qiang struggled. Seeing this, Zhang's mother was furious. "Bitch, don't touch my son." As she said that, she went to pull Su-ro. But at this time, two figures rushed in. "Dare to bully my daughter? I will fight you to the death." It was Su-ro's parents who rushed in. They had obviously just received the news and rushed over. Seeing Su-ro being bullied, they pushed Zhang's mother away and beat her. Zhang's father also joined the battle. Su-ro's parents were used to farm work and were very strong. Zhang's father and mother were no match for them. Seeing his parents being beaten and screaming, Zhang Chuyang also rushed in, 6 people rolling on the ground. Puff. I couldn't help laughing. The laughter attracted my father's attention. He strode towards me, angrily. "Sui-han, you've gone too far. If it weren't for you, how could things have developed to this point?" "Me? What does it have to do with me? Isn't Su-ro shameless?" "Shut up. I don't." "What? Is it really like what my mother said? Su-ro is not your niece, but your illegitimate daughter." My voice fell. My father's face turned blue with anger. "Nonsense. I must teach you a lesson today." As he said that, My father raised his hand to slap me. My mother subconsciously protected me behind her. You dare? Why don't I dare? Shang Yunru, if you stop me, do you believe I will beat you too? Ha! The cold voice of the boy came from outside the ward with sarcasm. It's really funny. This is the first time I see a father who can't stand his daughter doing well. I turned around and saw a strange yet familiar face. The boy's facial features are delicate, the contours are clear, and he is extremely handsome. The scratches at the corners of his eyes and the blood at the corners of his mouth not only did not damage his handsomeness, but added a few touches of charm to him. There was obvious hostility in his eyes, and he was full of murderous intent. It was my high school classmate Qinzhou, after graduating from high school. I haven't seen many high school classmates. The reason why I feel familiar with him is that I happened to see him once before I was reborn. At that time, I got off work as planned, but was stopped by two men on the way. It was Qinzhou who showed up in a luxury car. He simply honked the horn, and the two men ran away in fear. I thanked Qinzhou, and he said, "You're welcome, old classmate." I dug out a few fragments of Qinzhou's memories from the depths of my memory. I was grateful, but also embarrassed. My high school classmate was doing well, but I took back my thoughts and looked at the face in front of me again. He is not as calm as before I was reborn, and looks much more immature, but he is still handsome. Who do you think you are? You, a little brat, are the ones who get involved in my family affairs. Today I'm going to teach my daughter a lesson. Being ridiculed by outsiders. My father, who has a strong sense of self-esteem, felt even more embarrassed. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to beat me. My mother protected me in front of her, and his slap did not stop. He actually planned to hit my mother too. I tried to stop my father's slap, but a hand got in front of me and held my father's arm tightly. It was Qinzhou. My furious father wanted to teach Qinzhou a lesson, but his hand was held by Qinzhou and he couldn't move at all. The two of them confronted each other. Qinzhou looked relaxed, but my father's face turned the color of pig liver. Finally, the medical staff noticed the movement here and rushed into the ward to separate them. My father took back his hand and turned to look at Su Ro. I turned around to thank Qinzhou, but found that he had turned and left. At the end of the long corridor, his figure was thin, loneliness lingered. Half an hour later, with the comfort of the hospital staff, everyone present was reluctant to calm down, except for my father who seemed to care about Su Ro but actually stayed out of it. Everyone else's face was messy and embarrassed. The Zhang family raised their chins high and were arrogant. Su Ro's parents lowered their heads, feeling uneasy. Their biggest dream is to let Su Ro marry into a wealthy family, and just now, the wealthy family was beaten to the ground by them. The baby in Su Ro's belly must be aborted, Zhang's father said angrily. Zhang's mother echoed, even if I die, I will never let Su Ro marry me. How can that be? Su's father was unhappy. Your Zhang Chuyang got our Su Ro pregnant. If you don't take responsibility, we will go to the door of your company and make a scene. Let everyone judge. Su's father's words made Zhang's father and mother look ugly. 200,000. That's a human life. You want to buy a life for 200,000, you, Zhang's father interrupted Su's mother's relentless nagging. 500,000, this time. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Daqiang and Lu Meifang hurriedly nodded. Deal. On the hospital bed, Su Ro cried and fainted, really fainted, unfortunately. Even if she fainted, she would not be able to avoid the fate of going to the operating table, after dealing with Su Daqiang's family. The exhausted Zhang's father and mother looked at my mother-in-laws. When Su Ro's baby is gone, let Chu Yang marry Yihan. What do you think? My mother's eyes flickered. That depends on how your Chu Yang behaves. Don't worry, if Chu Yang messes around in the future, I'll break his legs. Zhang's mother pulled Zhang Chuyang over. Zhang Chuyang nodded absent-mindedly and promised. He kept glancing in the direction where Su Ro was pushed away. My mother took me away without talking to Zhang's mother. In the car, my mother asked me while driving, what do you think of marrying Zhang Chuyang? I don't want that kind of scumbag. When I thought of Zhang Chuyang, my face was full of disgust. I was disgusted to the point of physical discomfort. He cheated, was cowardly and irresponsible, and there was no good point in him. In my previous life, I was really blinded by my own greed and actually competed with Su Ro for a piece of shit. My words relieved my mother's worry a little. What do you want to do now? I want to break off the engagement with Zhang Chuyang. It would certainly hurt Zhang Chuyang and Su Ro more if I dragged my feet with Zhang Chuyang for a while, but whenever I thought of the title of Zhang Chuyang's fiancé, I felt sick. Mom, if Su Ro's baby is aborted, won't the Zhang family continue to rely on me? I told my mother about my worries. She smiled at me soothingly. Don't worry, leave it to Mom. When I got home, my mother called Zhang's mother first. My dear, has Su Ro's baby been aborted? Not yet. The doctor said that we have to wait until she wakes up to see her physical condition before operating. I think that bitch Su Ro is clearly pretending to faint. Yeah. How can a person who seduces her sister's boyfriend be a good person? My dear, don't be soft-hearted at the critical moment. Chu Yang is not incapable of having children. When Chu Yang and Han Han get married in the future, they will have 10 or 8 children. After ending the call with Zhang's mother, my mother looked at me. Before I asked, she expressed her opinion to me. Zhang Chuyang is the only son. Zhang's father and mother spend a lot of effort to have this child. It is said that Zhang's father has problems. So Zhang's mother may not let Su-ro go on the operating table, considering the issue of passing on the family line? My eyes lit up, my mother smiled and tapped my forehead, smart, in this way. The Zhang family will have no face to pester us, and Su-ro, even if she can give birth to a child, the Zhang family will not look down on her. Hearing this, I looked at my mother with admiration. Mom, you are so awesome. My mother smiled and hugged me, stroking my head gently. My daughter. No one can bully her. Feeling my mother's warm embrace, my nose couldn't help but feel sour. My mother also said this in my previous life. What did I do? I said, if you really don't want me to be bullied, you should help me get Zhang Chuyang back. But Hanin, Zhang Chuyang is not worth it. No matter whether it is worth it or not, I just like him. I was like a demon, and my only wish was to separate Su-ro and Zhang Chuyang. My mother couldn't resist me and licked her face to find Zhang's father and mother. But they looked down on her. Yes, Zhang Chuyang treated me like this, and I was still unwilling to let go. With a daughter like me, won't my mother be looked down upon? Hanin. What's wrong with you? Feeling my emotional fluctuations, my mother asked with concern. I buried myself in my mother's arms and said in a muffled voice, Mom, I think my dad is not worthy of being my father, just like she was not close to me before. There is always something between my mother and my father. My mother is busy with work on weekdays, while my father spends money everywhere to show off. Now that I think about it, there have been problems in their relationship for a long time. But my mother has always insisted on living with my father because of me, but now, I see clearly that I can do without a father who doesn't care about me. I hope my mother can file for divorce with my father, but she didn't. She just hugged me tightly for a long time before she sighed. Although a little disappointed, it is understandable. After all, my mother filed for divorce with my father a year later in my previous life, and at that time I had been mentally broken by Zhang Chuyang. Su-ro and my father, she was completely disappointed with my dad and wanted to take me away. Now, my dad didn't seem to have any other unforgivable actions except defending Su-ro. Although I really wanted to get rid of my dad as soon as possible, I knew that some things could not be rushed. In the afternoon, my mom went out to prepare for my entrance banquet. I called all the servants in the villa and ordered, throw out all Su-ro's things. Yes. I had tolerated Su-ro for a while for the sake of studying. From now on, I will not give anyone the opportunity to hurt me. After all Su-ro's things were thrown out, the servants cleaned my room and I moved back from the attic. In the evening, my mom came back first, and my dad came back right after. When he saw us, his expression was no longer arrogant, but a little embarrassed. He walked up to my mom and took her hand. I was also angry in the hospital during the day. Don't be angry with me. Normally, my dad would not apologize even if he knew he had done something wrong. Now he must have a purpose. My mother pulled her hand away, her expression indifferent. Looking at you like this. Did you not abort the baby in Su-ro's belly? My father was embarrassed when his inner thoughts were directly exposed. Zhang Chuyang had a checkup and found that his sperm was weak. I'm afraid it will be difficult to have children in the future. This is also a helpless move, so. My mother looked at my father steadily, facing my calm mother. My father's inner guilt turned into anger. Ihan is not doing well and is not liked by Zhang Chuyang. Since Ruru is already pregnant with Chiang's child, this marriage might as well be given to Ruru. My mother is also stubborn and her face sank on the spot. Su Zhanan, I don't want this marriage. But what do you mean? What do you mean by Han Han is not likable? In your eyes, your niece Su-ro is the most likable, right, isn't it? My father stood up and slammed the table. He pointed at me. Look at her. She looks like I owe her millions. How can she be likable? Unlike Ruru, she will serve me tea and water, ask about my health, and, shut up. My mother's chest rose and fell with anger, fearing that my mother would get sick from anger. I hurried forward to calm her down. Mom, let's not be angry. It doesn't matter if dad doesn't love me. Anyway, I still have you. Seeing my worry, my mother took a deep breath and tried to suppress her anger. Ignoring Su Zhanan, she took my hand and went upstairs. Upstairs, she looked at me. Your father. She wanted to say something, but the words came to her lips and she couldn't say it. I held my mother's hand back. Mom, in my heart, I don't have a father, from childhood to adulthood. My father has never cared about me, never taken care of me, never attended my parent-teacher meetings, never. He didn't participate in any big or small things in my life. In fact, he doesn't like me at all, only hates me. But he is different to Su-ro. He is like a father in front of Su-ro. Sometimes I even feel, thinking of the guess in my heart. I gritted my teeth and continued, I feel that Su-ro is his daughter, and I am a stumbling block that has taken his daughter's position. Hanin, my mother was shocked by my words and exclaimed, Mom, you can't to ensure that you are your father's child. As for Su-ro, your father is selfish. He has always wanted to suck my blood to support his two brothers. He thinks deep down that he and his two brothers are a family, and that I am an outsider. He puts you in the same position as me, so he treats you. Su-ro is definitely not your father's child. Don't worry, if your father doesn't love you, your mother will love you twice as much. Hearing this, I nodded, and didn't continue to dwell on this issue. Instead, I said, my father means to let Su-ro marry Zhang Chuyang, and Zhang's father and mother accepted Su-ro because she was pregnant. If this is the case, Su-ro is too cheap. Of course not. I know Zhang's father and mother too well, they probably want Su-ro to give birth to the child secretly and then let you and Zhang Chuyang raise it. They asked your father to come back as a lobbyist, but how could your father bear to let his precious niece suffer such grievances? So he came back this time to let me come forward and persuade Zhang's father and mother to let Su-ro marry into the Zhang family. I'm not that stupid. I'm afraid he won't be able to open his mouth after the quarrel with your father just now. After listening to my mother's words, I couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. My mother is still awesome. That's right, my mother looked proud. Your entrance banquet is scheduled for 3 days later. I will send you the address of the hotel on WeChat later. You can rest assured to invite classmates to attend your entrance banquet in the next few days. Leave other things to your mother. On the day of the entrance banquet, I will announce to the public that you and Zhang Chuyang have cancelled your engagement. Okay, Mom, I was still a little confused when I returned to my room. My mother's ability is more outstanding than I thought. She is so smart that she can be sure that Su-ro is not my father's child. Could it be that I really guessed wrong about this? I shook my head and put this question behind me for the time being. I took out my mobile phone and sent invitations to several friends who were close to me for the graduation banquet. At the end of the invitation, I thought of Qin-jo. He and I were classmates, but in high school, I had very few impressions of him. In my impression, he always sat in the last row of the classroom. During class, he either slept or played with his mobile phone, and the teacher was too lazy to take care of him. He often fought with others and was often asked to send his parents by the teacher. He was a typical rebellious student. But because he was handsome, his drawer was always full of love letters. It was just that he never touched those love letters and threw them into the trash can regularly. I had very few interactions with him, but in my past and present lives, he helped me twice. After a moment of hesitation, I still sent a message to Qin-jo. Since I was not familiar with him, my tone was relatively polite. My graduation party will be held in 3 days. Are you free? I didn't expect the other party to reply quickly, with just one simple word, okay. No matter how well my friends did in the exam, their graduation parties are held in these days. That day, I packed up and prepared to go out. My father, who was sitting on the sofa, looked me up and down, and his eyes were more sharp. "Ihan, what's the matter?" I said coldly, frowning unhappily. My father said, "Your cousin is still lying in the hospital to recuperate. How can you still have the heart to go out and play? According to what you said, your cousin is still lying in bed. How can you have the heart to drink tea at home? I think you should stay by her side in the hospital." My blunt reply made my father look ugly. "I stayed up late last night. Can't I stay up today?" Oh. I was in a hurry to go out and I was too lazy to waste words with him. When I walked to the door, my father's voice came again. "Remember to take time to visit your cousin." I'm afraid that asking me to visit Su-ro was fake, and it was true that Su-ro should do some ideological work for me. I left without hearing his words, after attending my friend's graduation banquet. I asked the driver to take a detour to the hospital on the way back. When I arrived at the hospital, Su-ro was sitting on the bed eating the fruit that Su Daqiang and Lu Meifeng fed her. Our Ro is really amazing. It seems that she will marry into a wealthy family sooner or later. What's the use of Su Yihan's good study? She can't even keep a man. When you marry Zhang Chuyang, ask your uncle to give you more dowry. The three of them were calculating. I pushed the door open at the right time, but Aunt Zhang just called me and told me that Chuyang would never marry Su-ro. When Su-ro gave birth to a child, she would let her go back to the countryside. My words made several people in the room her face change drastically. "Ihan, now that things have come to this, even if you marry Zhang Chuyang, you can only get his body, not his heart." At this time, the pride on Lu Meifeng's face disappeared completely, replaced by a face full of pain. "Ihan, you have been lucky since childhood. You have everything you need, but Ruru is different. Can you not compete with her for Chuyang?" While Lu Meifeng was speaking, Su-ro was already in tears. "Hanin, for the sake of me being your sister, can you let me go?" Su Daqiang's attitude remained strong. "Ihan, even if you don't agree to cancel the engagement with Chuyang, your father will find a way to let Su-ro marry Chuyang. If you don't let go now, you will be embarrassed." The three of them sang the same tune, using both soft and hard tactics. If I were the kind and weak me in my previous life, I would have thought it was my own problem. But, what do you mean I let you go? It was Su-ro who shamelessly seduced my fiancé and got pregnant with his child. I am so unlucky to have anything to do with people like you. I tell you, Su-ro, no matter what means you have, I will not withdraw from my marriage with Zhang Chuyang. Just give birth to the child. When the time comes, your child will call me mom, and you will never see the light of day. At most, the child will call you aunt. Hearing this, several people in the room were so angry that they were speechless. Bang, the aunt who just walked in to deliver the meal accidentally broke the bowl at this time. Sorry, I'm clumsy." She hurriedly picked up the broken ceramics on the ground and accidentally scratched her hand. I couldn't bear it anymore and stepped forward. "Let me do it." I squatted down and helped her pick up the broken bowl. After picking it up, I stood up and prepared to throw it into the trash can. When I looked up, My sight inadvertently fell on the face of the aunt who delivered the meal, and I could no longer look away, like, very similar to Su-ro, the guest that I had suppressed originally surfaced again, noticing that I was staring at her face. The aunt who delivered the meal quickly lowered her head and said to me, "Thank you, it's okay." I patted her shoulder comfortingly and took a hair off her head. As soon as I walked out of the ward door, I saw Zhang Chuyang. He looked very excited. Han-in. That's great. You don't mind Su-ro giving birth to my child, and you are willing to be the child's biological mother. Don't worry, I will treat you well in the future, as he said. He looked at me with deep affection in his eyes. It seems that what I said in the ward just now was heard by him. I was almost you. How blind I was in my previous life. I was unwilling to let Su-ro take away such a thing. What about Su-ro? I deliberately raised my voice. After she gives birth to the baby. Just give her some money, Zhang Chuyang said indifferently, inside the house. As Zhang Chuyang said this, there was another exclamation. Su-ro fainted again. As for whether she fainted for real or fake, I don't care. I looked at Zhang Chuyang expressionlessly. What I said just now was just to deliberately anger Su-ro. From the moment you hooked up with Su-ro, we have no relationship. Please tell your parents about this when you go back, so that your parents won't say that I am your family's future daughter-in-law. It's quite embarrassing to be associated with people like you. After saying this, I ignored Zhang Chuyang's reaction and left. The day before the entrance banquet, my mother and I came back from choosing dresses. I found Su-ro and his parents appeared at my house. The family of three lay on the sofa, eating melon seeds and watching TV. The villa was in a mess with melon seed shells and spilled tea all over the floor. What are you doing here? I looked at them. Su Da-chong leaned back on the sofa again. What are you talking about, Ahon? We are a family. Ruru has just been discharged from the hospital. It is inconvenient to delay. Where else can we live if not here? The servants came down from upstairs at this time. I looked closely and found that they were things in my room. Su-ro said innocently when she noticed my gaze. Han-in, uncle said I need a good environment to keep healthy. So please live in the attic or the guest room. Good guy. They occupied my room without notifying me. I was furious. Just as I was about to speak, my mother spoke before me. Security. Throw this family of three out. How dare you? Do you know who I am? I am the eldest brother of the male owner of your villa. If you dare to do anything, I will fire you all. Su Da-chong was furious. However, the security guards ignored them. After all, this villa was a dowry from my grandparents to my mother. The three people who were thrown out sat at the door of my villa and cursed. I said slowly, if you keep yelling, I will call the police. As I said that, I took out my mobile phone. 110 was pressed, and the three people were silent. I got up from the ground and left with their few gifts. Su-ro. I called Su-ro at this time. What else do you want to do? Su-ro couldn't pretend anymore. She covered her belly and looked at me with defensiveness and hatred in her eyes. Don't even think about touching my child. Ha! I sneered. You can't marry into the Zhang family just by relying on the child the Zhang family values face the most. Only if everyone knows that you are pregnant with Zhang Qiang's child, the Zhang family will be able to let you enter the house openly. Why are you so kind? Su-ro's expression was very touching. She was not a complete brainless person. Soon, she figured it out. Sui-han, you did it on purpose. You want the Zhang family to be ruined. Yes, I did it on purpose. I'll give you the chance. Do you want it or not? Not long after Su Da-chong and his family left, my dad came back. In the living room, he and my mom had an unprecedented quarrel. Because of me. Because of Su-ro. The quarrel between the two started from Su-ro seducing Zhang Chuyang and extended far. My dad felt that for so many years, my mom thought she could make money and always suppressed him, which made him feel very embarrassed. And my mom, in addition to feeling that I was wronged, the biggest knot in her heart was my dad's years of cold violence. My mother, who was always elegant and self-sustaining, couldn't help but break down emotionally at this time. Su Shannon, you are a coward, useless, and male chauvinist. You don't protect your wife and children. You are a wolf's heart and a dog's lungs. Blind, Sheng Yunru, you are looking for death. My father raised his palm and was about to hit my mother. Of course, his slap didn't fall on my mother. In midair, he was stopped by the security guard. Beat Su Shannon to death. The harder you beat, the more bonus you will get. Then, the living room was filled with Su Shannon's screams. I have wanted to do this for a long time. In my previous life, even if I only went to junior college, I could live a good life through hard work. It was Su Shannon, Su-ro, and Zhang Chuyang. No matter what job I found, they would use their power to ruin my job. My miserable life in my previous life, even though I was blinded by my own greed, I never did anything bad from beginning to end. It was these bad guys who had been forcing me the moment I was reborn. I wanted to beat Su Shannon to death, but when I really did it, I didn't feel very happy. Because of my mother's face was full of injuries. Mom, I stepped forward and held my mother's hand, calling carefully, Mom, it's okay. My mother forced a smile at me. When Su Shannon was beaten so hard that he couldn't make a sound, my mother said to the security guard, stop it. I was still a little unwilling to let Su Shannon go. My mother patted my hand soothingly. Tomorrow is your entrance banquet. It's not good if the matter gets out of hand. So, I didn't say anything else. Su Shannon was sent to the hospital. And my mother specially found someone to watch over the door of the ward. At night, the light in my mother's room was always on. I walked to the door of my mother's room and saw her taking out the photos of me and my father. She first looked at them and recalled the past, and then tore them up. Yes, I only saw the bad things about my father, but I didn't see everything my father and my mother had experienced in the past. Sensing my arrival, my mother waved at me. I walked over and snuggled in my mother's arms. My mother's voice came from above my head. When I wanted to marry your father, your grandparents didn't agree, saying that your father had a bad background and was not strong in personal ability. I was confused by your father's sweet words and was determined to marry him. Now that things have come to this, it seems that I really made the wrong choice. Mom, there will be times when people make wrong choices in their lives. As long as you discover your mistakes in time, it's fine. Besides, I raised my head and looked at my mother. Besides, if you hadn't been with my father, maybe you wouldn't have such a smart daughter like me. My joking words successfully made my mother smile. She looked at me and asked seriously, Hanin, if I divorce your father, can you accept it? Yes. Then will you choose to be with me? Yes. This time, I answered without hesitation. Perhaps my answer gave my mother strength. And my mother's face was dyed with confidence again. Wait until your entrance banquet is over tomorrow, and I will ask him for a divorce, okay? I hugged my mother and slept with her. I waited until her breathing was stable before I got up. I found a short hair of my father on the pillow and left the bedroom with the short hair. Early the next morning, I made an excuse to go out and went to the hospital to get Sue Ro's hair. Then I submitted the hair of Sue Ro and my father, as well as the hair of Sue Ro and the aunt who delivered the meal, for paternity testing. After returning home, my mother and I set off for the hotel. Near noon, the guests arrived one after another. My father was recuperating in the hospital, but he still got up and came to attend my entrance banquet. I was a little worried that he would make a scene at the graduation banquet, but my mom said that my dad was the most vain person, and I was relieved, as my mom thought, my dad, who usually didn't even bother to look at me, was smiling at this time, and his smile was so big that the bandage wrapped around his face couldn't hide it. Lao Su, your daughter is really promising. That's right, it's up to me. Someone looked at his miserable appearance and asked with concern, what happened to you? How did you get hurt like this? There were a few more gloomy eyes, but my dad's smile was still bright. Oh. Isn't it because my daughter was happy that she was admitted to Tsinghua University, and she drank one more glass, so she fell like this? 26. Hearing this, my mom and I looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. I have to say that he is quite good at finding excuses for himself. This ability to lie with open eyes is really useful. Guests came in wave after wave, and finally, as my mom was looking forward to it, my grandparents came. My grandparents were angry because my mom insisted on marrying my dad. Over the years, although they secretly helped my mom in her career, they had almost no overt contact. Every time my mom went back to see them, they had a stern face. The two old people were only happy when they were with me. But in fact, I know that they were just caring about my mom and my name, and they loved me. Dad, Mom, you are finally here. My mom breathed a sigh of relief. My grandparents looked proud. If we were not afraid that Hanin would regret the graduation banquet, we would not come. Yes, I will take you in. My mom went to help my grandparents. My classmates also came. The Zhang family also came, and Su Ro's family also came. It was close to noon, and the guests were almost all here. But I still didn't see Qinzhou. It was only at this time that I felt that I was a little rash. I don't know how Qinzhou's academic performance is, and I don't know which university he was admitted to. How can I rashly invite him to come over like this? Just thinking about it, a familiar voice suddenly came from above my head. Excuse me, where should I sit? I looked up and happened to meet Qinzhou's beautiful eyes. I'll take you there. As I said that, a smile bloomed on my face involuntarily. I took Qinzhou to the table where his high school classmates were sitting. Seeing Qinzhou, several girls who were originally chatting suddenly blushed and fell silent. Hanin, you are really amazing. You invited the school hunk who never gets close to anyone. Hearing this, I just smiled and said nothing. The Su group is not small. Most of the people who came to attend my entrance banquet are business partners. I followed my parents to toast everyone. When it was the Zhang family's turn to sit at the table, someone expressed a question. Why are your in-laws sitting with us? My mother smiled and said, it's like this, Hanin and Chiang's engagement has been cancelled. The engagement between the two was just a joke many years ago, so it shouldn't be taken seriously. Everyone present was smart, and no one continued to ask. On the contrary, Zhang's father and mother were unhappy, but they also endured and didn't express their opinions. My mother wanted to save some dignity for the Zhang family, but I didn't want to. Doing something undignified and wanting to end it decently, how can there be such a good thing in the world? I looked at Su Ro. She was holding her belly, struggling, as if she was struggling whether to expose the fact that she was pregnant with Zhang Qiang's child on the spot. So, I raised my foot and walked towards Zhang Qiang, who was not far from her. Halfway through the road, suddenly, my foot twisted and my body fell straight forward, and right in front of me was Su Ro. Just as I was about to hit Su-ro, I suddenly felt a force at my waist. It was Chin-jo, who hooked my waist. Thank you. I stood up in Chin-jo's arms and thanked him. Su-ro, who was still in shock, exploded. She stood up from the chair, holding her belly, pointed at me and accused me. Sui-han, you did it on purpose. You just can't stand me being pregnant with Chu Yang's child, and you want to take the opportunity to get rid of my child. As soon as Su-ro said this, the whole audience was in an uproar. Everyone understood instantly that the reason why I broke off my engagement with Zhang Chuyang was because Zhang Chuyang hooked up with my cousin and even had a child. Everyone present was proud, and many people looked at the Zhang family with contempt. Zhang's father and mother were very concerned about their reputation, so Zhang's mother immediately denied it. Su-ro, what are you talking about? Our Chuyang is not someone you can hook up with just because you want to. At this point, Su-ro broke the jar and said, Auntie, you know whether the child in my belly is Chu Yang's or not. If you really don't recognize it, you can do a paternity test after the child is born. You bitch, I'll tear your mouth apart. Seeing that the Zhang family and Su Daqiang's family were about to fight again, my mother directly asked the security guards to drive the two families out. The scene became quiet again. Everyone looked at me with more sympathy, of course, except for my father. He had a sullen face and his eyes looked like he wanted to eat me. After the entrance banquet, as soon as I got home, my dad exploded. How can you two be so vicious? Ruru is pregnant with Zhang Chuyang's child but is not recognized by the Zhang family. It's already pitiful. Do you have to force her to death? But, isn't this what she deserves? Sui-han, don't think I dare not teach you a lesson. My dad strode towards me. The security guards stood in front of me and surrounded me tightly. If you don't want to be beaten to the hospital again, just do it. I knew you were not a good thing. Enough. My mother couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted my father. Su Shannon, let's get a divorce. Divorce? Sheng Yunru, are you kidding? My father's tone was full of shock and disdain. Obviously, in his cognition, no matter how he treated my mother and me, my mother would not divorce him. Yes, divorce. My mother said loudly. My dad, who took a while to accept the fact, sneered and said, let's get a divorce, and split the property in half. Why should I split it in half with you? What have you contributed to this family besides eating, drinking and having fun? I was dissatisfied, but my mom said, okay, I'll ask a lawyer to draft an agreement later. That's it. After my dad went upstairs, my mom looked at me and comforted me. Henin, since we have decided to divorce, it is most important to cut the Gordian knot. Mom can earn money again. Besides, he is your father after all, so it is okay to give him some money. My mother's words made sense, so I didn't say anything for the time being. Seeing that my mother was fine, I told her that I was going out to find my classmates. In fact, I went to the hospital. It would be best if my guess was wrong. In that case, in order to prevent my mother from being too sad, I can let Su Shannon get some property. When I arrived at the hospital, I successfully got the identification results. When I opened the identification report and saw the results on it, I was so angry that I almost couldn't breathe. I guessed right. Su-ro is really the child of Su Shannon and the aunt who delivered the meal. I immediately took the identification results back to show my mother. My mother, who was still sad about the marriage of several decades, was wrapped in anger when she found out that my father had an extramarital affair and the child was 3 years older than me, as expected of my mother. Even if she was angry, she didn't let her anger swallow her reason. She called my grandparents, tell them about this. My grandparents came with my 3 uncles. My dad, who was taking a nap, was dragged off the bed and beaten by my 3 uncles. He was already injured and was beaten to death. Then my uncle put a divorce agreement in front of him and asked him to sign. My dad refused to sign it when he saw that it said he was to leave the house. My uncle snorted coldly. Su Shannon, you better think about it. If you don't sign, I will sue you for bigamy tomorrow and put you in jail. Not only that, I will beat up the rest of your Su family every time I see them in the future, and you will never get ahead in your life. My dad, who only then knew that Su-ro's affairs had been exposed, signed his name with a gloomy face. At this moment, my parents divorced completely. From now on, he is no longer my dad. Su Shannon was thrown out of the villa like garbage. I'm so angry. If it weren't for Henin, I would have put him in jail. Several uncles were so angry. My mother didn't care about being sad, and turned to comfort my grandparents and uncles. In the end, my grandparents and uncles felt sorry for my mother and me, and insisted on taking us over to live for a while. At my grandpa's house, I felt unprecedented warmth. It was so warm that I never wanted to go back. My mother also felt that the villa was unlucky, so she sold it below the market price. There was still more than a month before Tsinghua University started, and my mother asked me, what are your plans next, Mom? I want to go to the company for an internship. After dealing with the scum, making money is the kingly way. I have to learn how to manage a company as soon as possible so that I can inherit the family business. After hearing my answer, my mother smiled and said, that's right, I have the same plan. My mother took me to buy some professional clothes. put on professional clothes, and tie up my long hair. I was confident in the mirror, no longer cowardly as in my previous life. The next day, my mother and I went to the company. I witnessed my mother giving instructions to the Human Resources Department to fire all the people who Su Shennan had previously stuffed into the company. Soon, my mother's phone was ringing in the president's office. Sister-in-law, we are relatives after all. Su Shennan's bad deeds have nothing to do with me. Sister-in-law, I have broken up with Su Shennan. It's hard to find a job now. Can you not fire me for our previous friendship? In the face of interests, Su Shennan's proud brotherhood is vulnerable. My mother, who was too lazy to waste time, directly blocked all these people. My mother threw me to a senior in the company, and I had a lot to learn every day. In this busyness, the Zhang family and Su Daqiang's family's affairs also fell into my ears one by one. It's not that I want to hear it. But there are too many scandals in the Zhang family recently, and everyone in the circle knows about it. After Su Rou announced in public at my graduation banquet that she was pregnant with Zhang Qiang's child, Zhang's father and mother, who felt that Su Rou had lost all their face, ordered Zhang Qiang to stop associating with Su Rou. I don't know whether it was Zhang Qiang's deep affection or Su Rou's tricks. But Zhang Qiang continued to hang out with Su Rou behind Zhang's father and mother's back. When Zhang's mother accidentally found out, she was so angry that she was hospitalized. As for Zhang's group, due to their ugly behavior, several major cooperation projects failed and suffered heavy losses. Seeing the company's stock price falling day by day, Zhang's father was overwhelmed. That's not all. It turned out that Su Rou didn't know that she was an illegitimate daughter who couldn't see the light of day. After learning that the aunt who delivered the meal was her mother, she scolded Su Shennan and her biological mother for being shameless. In a fit of rage, she directly lost the baby in her belly. Without a child, Su Rou no longer had the opportunity to marry into the Zhang family. Her status in the Su family plummeted. She stopped being arrogant and started to coax Su Shennan again. After all, Su Shennan had money. The reason why Su Shennan signed the divorce with my mother was that he was afraid of going to jail and my uncle's, and he had a lot of private money. But how could he, who was used to living a life of luxury, bear the days of his savings gradually decreasing? Under the deception of Su Lao San, Su Shennan became addicted to gambling. In just 1 month, millions of dollars were lost. Without money, Su Shennan could no longer get the flattery of the Su family and was driven out of the house by the Su family. After graduating from college, I couldn't find a suitable job, entered the factory assembly line, and died suddenly from overwork. My life. 33. Listening to others talking about the miserable current situation of those people again, I found that my heart was not too volatile. They and I have long been people from two different worlds. Regardless of whether they live well or not in the future, I will work hard to become better and better. On the first day of school at Tsinghua University, Zhang Chuyang stopped me at the school gate. Hanin, Su Rou, and I have completely broken up. We grew up together and were childhood sweethearts. Can you forgive me this time? The funny thing is that I actually saw some real affection in Zhang Chuyang's eyes. Some people are like this, they don't cherish what they get easily, and they dream about what they can't get. Sorry, I don't forgive you. I feel like it's a waste of life to look at Zhang Chuyang for one more time. I walked around Zhang Chuyang and walked into the campus. A familiar figure came into view. It was Qin Zhou. He also had an admission letter in his hand. It seemed like he was waiting for me. Seeing me, he came over and invited me. Do you want to report together? Okay. I nodded and walked side by side with Qin Zhou. Don't dwell on the past. Don't be afraid of the future. I will eventually live the way I want to be.